Hello, today is our first video lesson on our solids unit. So we are talking today about prisms, cylinders, and spheres. So what you have in front of you is the formula sheet. We will be referencing this throughout the lesson, and you will need this probably throughout this unit. So today we're talking about prisms. This is a prism. More specifically, this is a rectangular prism. And it's rectangular prism because the base, which is this part right here, is a rectangle. This is also a base. So if that shape is a rectangle, that makes it a rectangular prism, as opposed to the one over here is a triangular prism. We're not talking about those today. We'll be talking about cylinders, and here are those formulas. We'll also be talking about spheres, and they have those formulas. These formulas will always be provided to you. You will not have to memorize them. So again, we are talking about surface area and volume of cylinders, spheres, and rectangular prisms. So here we have all of our examples of those. So surface area is the sum of the areas of each face of a solid. And if you look at the picture on the right, it's trying to show you that you find the area of the top, you find the area of the front, you find the area of the side, left side, you find the area of the bottom, you find the area of the back, and you find the area of the right side. And you add them all up. So if you were to take paper and cover a box, it would be all the paper that you need to cover that box would be the surface area. Now we do need to talk about units here. Units are very important. And we're talking about area. Then we will have units squared. So for example, if this was in centimeters and this was in centimeters, then that area would be in centimeters squared. We could have inches squared, feet squared, meters squared, but it's always going to be something squared. Moving on to volume. Volume is the measure of the amount of space that a figure encloses. Now for prisms and cylinders, volume is area of the base times the height. Again, you don't need to memorize that, but if you knowing that is going to help you quite a bit. So let's talk about our units for volume. And our units for volume will be units cubed. So for example, centimeters cubed, feet cubed, inches cubed, meters cubed. So in any volume, our units will be cubed. Moving to the next page. So to find the surface area of a cylinder, first we need to cut the cylinder in pieces. We can find the area of each piece to find the surface area of the whole cylinder. So when we look at this, basically what we're going to do is we're going to take a can opener and we're going to take this top off that I've highlighted in green, and that is going to be what shape? Well, that shape is a circle, and if I wanted to find the area of that, it would be pi r squared. And if you don't remember, that formula is on the formula sheet on the front. I take a can opener and I take the bottom off as well, and I cut that out. And that shape is again going to be a circle. And again, that area is pi r squared. Again, if you don't know that, it's on the front. Then what I have left is this middle part. And if I were to cut right here with a good pair of shears, I could cut that and I would unroll it. And if I did that, I would get this piece right here, which is a rectangle. And whatever the height is of the cylinder, it's going to be the height of this rectangle. Now, however far around it was, around the lid, that becomes this part right here. And all the way around the lid is the circumference of a circle, which is 2 pi r. So the area of our rectangle is just 2 pi r times height. And again, it's just a rectangle, base times height. So that's 2 pi r h, which means the surface area of a cylinder is going to be pi r squared from our lid plus 2 pi r h from our middle part plus pi r squared from our base. And I can combine these. How many pi r squareds do I really have? I really have 2. So the formula on your formula sheet is written as 2 pi r squared, so that's the area of the top plus the area of the bottom, plus 2 pi r h, that's the area of the middle part, which is technically called lateral area. So let's try one example. So in this example, we're going to find the surface area and the volume of the figure. So what we're going to do is get our surface area formula. And again, we just did surface area. So surface area is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. So we're just going to plug in what we know. Our 5.7, that is our height of our cylinder. The 2.4, that is the radius of our cylinder. So I'm plugging everything in. 2 pi times 2.4 squared plus 2 pi times 2.4 times the height 5.7. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply these things out, and I'm going to leave pi out, and eventually I'm going to plug that back in. So let's go ahead and take a look at using my calculator. So using my calculator, I'm going to do these first two things. I'm going to do 2.4 squared and then times 2. So I can just do 2 times 2.4 squared. That's not squared. That's squared. And that gives me 11.52. And that's 11.52 pi. Okay, don't forget that there's a pi right there. Plus, and now over here, I'm going to take 2 times 2.4 times 5.7. Now, when I do that, I get 27.36 pi. So now I can add those two things together. And when I say those two things, I mean the 11.52 and the 27.36, and I'm going to add that together, and I'm going to add a pi at the end. So I'm just going to hit plus 11.52, and that gives me 38.88 pi. I should probably throw some units on here. So we're doing surface area, so my units will be squared, and the units that I had for my radius and height were feet, so that's feet squared. And now I'm going to go ahead and take my 3.88 and multiply by pi. And again, use the pi button. Please don't use 3.1 something. Use your pi button. And don't round along the way. Don't get rid of any decimals on the way. Leave it like that. So let's find our volume. So to find our volume, first thing that I want to do, I want to go back to my formula sheet. Go to my formula sheet. I've got volume of a cylinder, and here it is. Volume is pi r squared h. So back to where it was. My volume is pi r squared h. So my volume is going to be pi times 2.4 squared times 5.7. And again, I'm going to do everything except for the pi. So I have 2.4 squared and then times 5.7. And that gives me 32.832. And again, don't forget that you have your pi right there. Let's go ahead and talk about our units. Volume units are units cubed, and the units for my radius and height were feet. So at this point, I'm just going to take what I got and hit times, and then pi. And that's what I get for my volume. And there's your volume. So if you need more time to write something down, pause the video here. This is your U-try. So this is the one that I want you to do. I'm going to talk about it first in the very beginning. Find the surface area and volume of a cylinder if the height, okay, so we know the height is 18.4 meters and the diameter is 4.6 meters. This is sort of key right here. I do not need the diameter when I'm finding the volume or surface area of a cylinder. I need the radius. So the radius is going to be 4.6 divided by 2, which means my radius for this one is 2.3 meters. So I want you, look at your formula sheet, write down the formula, fill it in, find the surface area, look at your formula sheet, find the volume formula, write it down, fill it in, and find the volume. So go ahead and please do that now. Here are my solutions. My surface area was 299.142 meters squared. Check your units, please. My volume was 305.790 meters cubed. Again, check those units. If you need to write anything down, please pause the video here. We're moving on to a sphere. So here we have a sphere, and we're trying to find the surface area and the volume of the figure. So I'm going to flip back till I get to my formula sheet. So flip back to your formula sheet, and let's find the sphere. So here's our sphere. Okay, so my surface area is 4 pi r squared, where my volume is 4/3 pi r cubed. I'm going to go ahead and write both of those down on my paper. So if you need to pause and write those down, pause here. Overshot myself. Okay, so my formula for surface area is 4 pi r squared, and the formula for volume was 4/3 pi r cubed. So we're just going to plug everything in. So we have 4 pi, and my radius, let's see, my radius is 12.4 centimeters. And now I'm going to get my calculator, and I'm going to do 4 times 12.4 squared, and then I'm going to multiply that by pi. So I have 615.04 pi. I'm just going to hit times pi right now, so I don't have to key that in again. And that gives me 1932.205, and my units were centimeters, and surface area is centimeters squared. Moving on to our volume. So again, I'm just going to plug in. So my volume is going to be 4/3 pi times 12.4 cubed. So let's talk about the cubed. I'm just going to do 2 cubed on my calculator. I'm going to do 2, and then the raise 2 button, which is under clear, and then 3. That's 2 cubed. Okay, so in this one, I'm going to do 4 divided by 3 times, and I want 12.4 raised 2 under the clear button, 3. So when I do that, I get 2542.165 pi. So don't forget there's a pi there. I'm going to hit times pi. And when I do that, I get 7986.447, and my units are centimeters. This is a volume, so it's centimeters cubed. So let's go on to the next one. Now the next one is also an example. So we have a hemisphere, which is half of a sphere, and the radius is 4.3 meters. The question is, what are the surface area and the volume? So we're going to do the surface area together. You are going to end up doing this one, the volume. So for our surface area, I want to talk about 2 things. We have the outside part, the part that right now, if I were to pick this up from the top, I would pick it up from up here, and that would be half of the surface area. So that part is going to be half of my surface area, which is 4 pi r squared. However, once I have a hemisphere, I've added surface to my figure, and it's this shape down here. And when I cut a ball or an orange in half, I create this thing, which is a circle. So this thing right here is a circle. We need to add in the area of the base, or the bottom right now, and that area is a circle, and the area of a circle is pi r squared. So again, this top right here, that's my 1/2 of a sphere, my surface area, and then I'm going to add in the area of a circle. So I need to take this and add in the area of this bottom here. So let's go ahead and plug in, work this out. So I have 1/2 times 4 pi times 4.3 squared plus pi times 4.3 squared. So I'm going to grab my calculator to find my surface area first. So I have 4 times 4.3 squared. And so I'm going to have 1/2 times 73.96 pi. I can go ahead and multiply that by pi. Sorry about that noise. I can go ahead and multiply by pi right now and figure out, oh, I have a pen in my hand, sorry. I'm all over the place. Okay, so now I'm going to take my 73 and hit times second, is that pi? Yep, that's pi. So I get 232, and actually, that's the volume of the, sorry, that's the surface area of the whole sphere. So now I need to take that and divide that by 2. So I'm just going to hit divide by 2, and that gives me my first surface. And then I need my second one. So I have plus pi times 4.3 squared. And I'm going to go ahead and hit times pi. So I hit times pi twice. And then I'm going to add it to my answer. And an answer button is down by my little pointer, and it's blue, which means I have to push the shift button first. So this gives me, I don't know what this was, so I'm going to take this out. And then I get a total of 174.264, and my units are meters squared for my surface area. Okay, so again, I've already said that I want you to do the volume of a sphere, so go back to your formula sheet if you need to, write down the formula for volume, and go ahead and calculate that, please. Sorry, I just realized that I did the first example wrong because I did not realize at the top I've written in red the diameter was 4.3. So let's go back and fix that one. I am very, very sorry. So my surface area is now 1/2 times 4 times pi times 2.15 squared plus pi times 2.15 squared. And I'm going to go ahead and just plug this in my calculator all at once. So I'm going to do 0.5 times 4/3. I put 4/3 in parentheses, and again, you don't have to do it this way. Pi times 2.15 squared plus pi times 2.15 squared. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with me today. Okay, 0.5 times, we have 4 pi. I put 4/3 pi in there. I don't know why. Times 2.15 squared. Hopefully you're doing this right. Plus 2.15 squared times pi. That looks better. So this comes out to be 43.5660 meters squared. I apologize. So for the U try, I've actually gotten you started. So go ahead and do the U try now with your volume. Pause the video, please. So my answer was 20.814 meters cubed. Please be sure that you have your units on there and they are correct. If there's anything that you need to correct from my mistakes or your mistakes, please pause the video here and make any corrections you need to your paper. And again, I apologize for all my mistakes. I'm going on to the next example. So for the next example, we're finding the surface area and volume of this figure. So for the surface area, I'm going to find the area of each piece, and I'm just going to add them all up, just like in that third slide that we looked at, where it showed all the pictures of the box and highlighted one shaded part at a time. So the first part that I'm going to talk about is the bottom. And the bottom should be exactly the same as the top. The bottom and the top have the same dimensions, because if I have this 3 down here, that means right here is also 3. Likewise, over here is 5. That means right here is also 5. And let's talk about our 4. Our 4 is right here, So this is also 4, and this over here is also 4. So I'm going to go piece by piece. So let's talk about the top and the bottom. Their area is going to be 5 times 3, which is 15. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about let's see, where do we want to go? Let's go left and right. So we're going to talk about the left and right now. So we talk about the right side. The left side is equal to it. So the right and left are both going to be, I think that's 3 times 4. Length times width on those is 3 times 4, which is 12. And then what we have left will be the front and the back. So let's look at the front and back. Front is right here, and the dimensions of the front are 5 by 4, which is 20. So for our surface area, we need to remember that each of these numbers that we found, we really have 2 of them, because the area of the bottom is 15, but the area of the top is also 15. So I have 2 15s, and I have 2 12s, the right side and the left side, and I have 2 20s, the front and the back. So that is 30 plus 24 plus 40, and if we add that all up, we should get, hold on, 94. And we need some units. Surface area, our units were feet, so it should be squared. Now for the volume, and again, I think this is the one that we know. Our volume is length times width times height. So we multiply all the dimensions together. So we have 5, the width is 3, and the height is 4. And when we multiply that together, we get 60. And our units, again, were feet, and for volume, our units should be feet cubed. If you need to write anything down, please pause the video here. Moving on to the next one. This one is a you try, so I would like for you to try this one. I'm going to draw a picture for you in case you need it. If you don't need it, then you just get to work. To draw a rectangular prism, start by drawing a rectangle, and then you draw short little segments. I'm going to move that segment, hold on. Short little segments, they all have to be the same length, they all have to be parallel. It should look something like this. And here's your prism. So this has a length of 6, it has a width of 4, and it has a height of 8. So there you go. I would like for you right now, if you have not already, to find the surface area and the volume. So please pause the video now. So my answers are on the screen. The surface area I got was 208. Check your units, please. We should have feet squared right there. My volume was 192. Check your units. It should be feet cubed. So if you need to write this down, please pause the video here. Moving on. Now we're finding the surface area and the volume of the cube. Okay, so a cube means whatever the length of one edge is the length of all of the edges. So if that is 6.2, that means the width is 6.2, and it means the height is 6.2. So when we're finding the surface area, if we think about it, if I were to find the area of the front, that should be the same as the area of the back. It should be the same as the area of the right. It should be the same as the area of the left. It should be the same as the area of the top, and the same as the area of the bottom. So how many faces do we have on a cube? Well, let's count. We have the front, we have the back, we have the top, we have the bottom, we have the left, and we have the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 of those. So my surface area is going to be 6 times the area of one of those, which is 6.2 times 6.2. So let's go ahead and calculate that. So we have 6.2 times 6.2, so the area of each face is 38.44. So I have 6 times 38.44, and so I'm just going to hit times 6. And again, this is only for a cube. So I get that my surface area is 230.64. My units are inches. Area is inches squared. So moving on to the volume. The volume for the cube is length times width times height. In this case, it's the length is 6.2, the width is 6.2, and the height is 6.2, which means I really have 6.2 cubed. 6.2 times 6.2 times 6.2 is 6.2 cubed. That's why this thing is called a cube, because to find the volume, we cube the edge. So I can do 6.2 raised to the third power, which is how I can cube something. And that gives me that my volume is 238.328 inches cubed. And again, that's why that is called a cube. Moving on to the next one, if you need to pause here, go ahead. So for the next one, this is a U try. Find the surface area and volume of a cube if one edge is 5.5 inches. So please go ahead and pause the video and try this problem. So pause the video now, please. Okay, really pause the video and really do this problem. You can try and do this, and for every you try, you should be pausing the video to do it. So pause the video now and actually do the problem. Here are my answers. My surface area was 181.5. Check your units, inches squared. And for my volume, I got 166.375. Again, check your units. It should be inches cubed. Please bring any questions that you have to class. And if you had any problems with the vocabulary, please watch the 3D vocabulary lesson. Have a wonderful evening.